Hello, everybody, and welcome in to Cinema Surprise, presented by the Penny Bloom Podcast. Today, we continue with Joseph's fourth pick. It is Arrival, released on November 11th, 2016, based on a book by Ted Chiang and a screenplay by Eric Heiserer and directed by Denis Villeneuve. I am Colton Robertson. I am joined by Joseph George. What's up,
Oh, what up?
homie?
What up?
Sorry, I
Uh,
totally tripped over that word for some
It's
fucking
all
reason.
good, but it's still always a pleasure to be here. Very very glad to be talking Arrival. Finally
Yeah.
more sci-fi.
You'd think
This
in my own language I wouldn't have tripped over the words.
hey, maybe
I'm
they're
trying
speaking
to
to us. Maybe this is your
right now
future
we're actually
self.
recording the episode like there's another version of ourselves that is doing it backwards, like in the exact reverse
Uh-huh.
as we are, and we're meeting in the middle right now.
Exactly.
We're
And
just yeah.
every sentence that we say, we're grabbing from either the past or the
Mm,
future from some other conversation, and it's just
exactly.
being spoken right now. So yeah, I mean
Yes.
it's
Yes.
just I love movies
No,
that can get you to mind bend
uh,
like that. Oh
dude,
yeah,
I
so
loved
but
it. I loved it.
mm-hmm.
So this was your choice.
Mm-hmm.
Why did Arrival click
Uh
with you? Why did you want to discuss that today?
well, after seeing Dune, and just Villanueva was floating around, I'm like, man, I really need to watch some more of his stuff. And then I've always heard of Arrival, and see people have even told me specifically, hey, you would really like this movie. It's right up your alley. And I don't know why, I've just never gotten around to seeing it. And then I watched it for the first time, not too long ago. I think it was about probably a month or maybe a month and a half ago that I watched it for the first time, and I was just kind of hooked. I'm like, oh yeah, I do. I see why people would recommend this movie for me, and I love sci-fi. I love this concept, and the story is actually good, and I feel like heartfelt enough too. Like it's kind of, I feel like that's kind of the most difficult thing to do with sci-fi is um make it
Human.
human. Yeah, make it heartfelt and have emotion and all that. And I feel like this gets me there.
No,
And
it got me. Yeah, yeah, it's interesting about sci-fi because I do think sci-fi has this tendency to be able to strike at the heart of humanity in a way that a lot of genres have the capability to, but there's this heightened version of this where it shows where we can go and what is possible,
mm,
but is unimaginable almost. Like
mhm.
so I loved the prospect that this movie sets up for us, because and sci-fi is so broad, like this is stereo like quote unquote stereotypical sci-fi. We're dealing with aliens
Mhm.
and coming to Earth and talking to them and but it obviously flips it on its head and does its own thing that is completely original. Like and then like comparing it to like Mad Max Fury Road and Planet of the Apes. These
Mm.
are also sci-fi films. So like it's a huge
Yeah.
genre. It's a huge
Mhm.
genre. So like it is funny like this is what you would think of as a science fiction film and I appreciate that it manages to take a launching off point that would be, I mean, and has been basic to so many science fiction films and
Oh yeah.
stories ever. The Day the Earth Stood Still and War of the Worlds, and just like aliens have arrived.
Mhm.
What are we gonna do? And then they take it in a direction that I've literally never even
Mhm.
considered before. And I appreciated Denis Villeneuve. Obviously, we heard in the interview recently, and this gets brought up pretty frequently on the podcast because we've become pretty ingrained with visual storytelling. But for a
Mm.
gentleman who doesn't love dialogue and likes doing visual storytelling, um, this is and obviously he didn't write this one, so it's not like
Yeah.
he wrote the Dune movie, so it is a little different
I
there.
see why he
Um,
loves it. I see he loves it though. It's
yeah,
like language is literally visual
hmm
in this, I guess, for their species or
right.
I don't know, what do you is it an alien race, an alien species, an alien, I don't, whatever.
Yeah,
Um
both are applicable, I
yeah,
think. No, I
but
and just the prospect he posed, like this also has some of the most beautiful dialogue that's ever been spoken in a Denis Villeneuve film. I liked this infinitely more than I liked Sicario.
Oh
that we
yeah.
covered over on the Penny Bloom podcast. For me, and I know this is crazy because I love Dune 2. This was like quite easily my favorite Denis Villeneuve film. Um, there was a certain emotionality to it that Dune 2 got me to tears a couple times, but it was more because of the talent on display. I would not hesitate
Hmm.
to tell you Dune 2 is a better movie. That's not something I have
Yeah.
any qualms just going ahead and conceding, you know?
Hmm.
But man, this resonates with me in a way that I
That's
don't get out of Dune 2.
that's
And
true. Sitting in a theater and being rumbled with all that sound and having the music
God.
flow through you and you're and a theater does kind of change a lot of things and then but then I'm sitting at home just sitting down peace and quiet. The sound's nice. I got a nice picture and everything, but like I'm getting to tears there. It's not
Yeah.
because of the
The
massive speakers
experience.
and
Yeah,
everything going
yeah.
on at once and I mean that is an interesting question of like which movie I like more. I kind of I almost kind of put them as 1A and 1B
Mm,
for me and it is because of Dune. It is just kind of that epic craft of it and a really cool group of young talent and just epics. I don't know, an epic story as well.
no, it is.
Um
It's fucking awesome. Like, and
yeah,
that's why I'm like, I don't want to undersell
it's like
Dune
it's
by any
tough.
stretch of the
Yeah.
imagination. Um, I'm only saying that to show just how much this movie resonated with me because I fucking love Dune 2. And I love Dune also, by the way. I know I'm
Mhm.
focusing on Dune 2, but Dune is also fucking
Yeah.
rad. So like
Yeah.
I love both of those movies. But yeah, no, I was impressed with the storytelling here, regardless of whether it was dialogue or visual storytelling. I appreciated the moral of the story ultimately, like dealing with aliens who are trying to help humanity
Mhm.
because in 3,000 years they need humanity's help and they need them to be united on every front for that to happen. I
Yep.
love the
Whoa.
literal shot of every country's name, every location, and it just saying disconnected, 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 like, and it's
Ah.
like, oh, I wonder what he's trying to say here.
Mhm.
Like I appreciated that, and that's like sometimes you need on the nose visual storytelling like
Yeah.
that to really wallop you, and it did, man. Like it was, and like so that's you have this big world impacting story, and then at the heart of it is a really, really moving depiction of dealing with grief and dealing with life.
Mm.
And I I was floored by it.
Yeah.
It was fucking beautiful.
What a I mean, just dealing with first contact of aliens and anything is always kind of crazy. But then to take it to the level of, oh yeah, we can't even really speak to them. We're kind of if aliens were to come down, we kind of hope that they are smart enough to figure out our language and speak to us because like
Mm,
we would have to do this, like it would kind of I don't who knows if they would be as friendly as these aliens are. I mean they need our help in 3500 years, so that's why they're being friendly, but um if there are aliens out there and they know of us, they haven't killed us yet, so I'm assuming they'll be friendly. That's my assumption,
yeah.
but I mean it's a crazy just question to have. And then I don't know how I haven't like thought of it before this movie of like actually communicating with an alien if they were to come down and then
Mm.
just we would send like I guess that's like one common gripe like oh my god this video I keep coming back to it. Neil deGrasse Tyson, he did a tier list of sci-fi movies and his gripes on movies are hilarious, and I used to be this person, but he was like, if we were to do this in real life we would send cryptologists or cryptographers and CIA agents and people who break codes and all of this stuff, not a linguist. And I'm like, well, I bet both would actually, a linguist actually is very crucial. Um,
Also, those people were there.
uh-huh.
It's not like they weren't. It's just that this was
the main person who figured it out, like they were getting nowhere. That's who they
Yeah.
tried first, and they
Yeah.
got nowhere. And like,
Yeah. So
because
like good job, Neil.
oh
You're
man,
actually yeah, no, Neil
it's
deGrasse Tyson. He's a
it's
smart guy, but
just
he's hysterically
yeah.
out of touch with what art is on most fronts.
Mhm.
But no, I loved the setup for this movie. I adore the idea that they're literally just trying to communicate with them. You got like Bostonian Forrest Whitaker coming through, trying to see
Mhm.
if Amy Adams can come on through, help us out. She's like, I can't unless I'm there. He's like, nah, fuck you. He comes
Yeah.
back. He's like, okay.
We know what you're trying to do. You're not gonna get in there. Fuck.
She's like,
We
I'm not
act.
trying to do shit. I have to do this if you like.
Yeah.
So I loved that. But one of my favorite scenes, it ultimately can't be my favorite scene because the back half of this movie is fucking insane. But the first time she breaks down why they're starting as small as they are,
On the
and she
whiteboard.
writes out,
Oh,
yes.
perfect. Yeah.
What is your
Oh.
purpose on Earth? She's like, all right, let's talk about this. So a, do they even know that that's where we are? Do they even know what Earth is? Are they just here on this planet?
Mm-hmm.
They probably don't. They need to know that this is a question. Do they even know that we're asking a question? So what? They need to know the intent. They need to know purpose. It's they need to know not the group,
Mm-hmm.
not them specifically, but
Nope.
as a whole, their whole thing.
Nope.
And it's one of those things that I was watching it with Emily, and Emily fucking loved this movie too, which is always a really good basis for me to know whether it has general appeal.
Hmm.
Um, and she dug it. She dug it hard.
Huh.
But we were watching it, and we were just talking about how like it's so crazy to grow up with a language like this and then be able to translate it into other languages. Like if you want to learn Spanish or French or German or any of these, you at least have a basis. They are
Mm.
earthly.
Yeah.
We know how to pose questions. We know how to describe that sort of thing. We know like they're starting from fucking scratch here.
No
We
noise.
grow up and we just like learn English.
You just absorb it. We're just a
Yeah.
sponge. We're just
You
like,
just
oh,
get it.
oh, da 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 da, like
That.
mama mama,
That.
like oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just repetition. Yeah, I mean it's, and then whenever like they're slowly communicating, like one little circle at a time,
Mm.
but then like at the end, whenever like they give the gift to her and she can like fully understand everything,
Yeah.
and then they just, the one shoots off a bunch of ooze, ink, gas. I don't. I feel like I
Yeah. I
don't know
don't
what
know.
to call it, but like shoots off a bunch of it, and then the other starts to like just make all the small circles, and
Mm-hmm.
just have a bunch of them there. And then it hit me of like, oh my god, yeah. To think of like how these beings communicate normally, it wouldn't be slow like
Yeah.
this. Like it
They were
would,
doing the same thing to her
yeah,
that she was doing to them. And
yes,
I fucking
Blah.
loved it,
Like, uh,
dude. And I love
oh,
that in that moment, they do that because they know a bomb is about to go off and they save them by turning the gravity. There was,
whoa,
oh, dude, I
it,
loved it.
it's just I, and it's great, like their powers and stuff. It's just like it's perfect. Like I love when things aren't fully explained. It's like they can just see the future, and she touches the glass, and she touched them, and like she has the power now. It's like it's just aliens. So it's nice that you can kind of just use it as an explanation for things. But a lot of the other stuff is like just very rooted in how we would go about it. Like I feel like it is as realistic. It's weird to call this movie realistic, because there's just aliens coming down to Earth, but it really does feel like how our current Earth and our current governments would handle it. We would set up a
Yeah,
military
yeah.
base, and we would only let in the people we want to go in there. We wouldn't, if the public tried to come in and storm this, like assuming they would just open fire and like kill
Mm-hmm.
all the people, it probably wouldn't be fun. But so I don't know, a lot of it is based in reality still, and like we are on Earth. There's just 12 of them
Mm.
popped out, just chilling.
Well,
Um
and there was I'm used to watching. I've watched four Denis Villeneuve films prior to this. I'd watched Sicario, both Dunes, and Blade Runner 2049,
Mm-hmm.
which all have a human heart to them, and Sicario is obviously placed in the real world, but there's a certain element to that that's like I literally have no idea how real that is.
Yeah.
But
Or
and
American
it's so
Minds.
dim and it's dark and it's not hopeful and it's but I love that in this movie there is a really poignant social commentary about the way the general public would receive this information and how the media would manipulate certain people
Mm.
who are there to act against, to turn, to
Mm-hmm.
do a coup, to do an insurrection and try to destroy
Yep.
it. And I just thought it was really impressive because obviously we haven't been adults long. The first election I remember, like I remember Barack Obama getting voted into office twice. I
Yeah.
do. But I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Yeah.
I did.
True.
I remember Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton,
Mm-hmm.
and that was 2016. This movie came out in 2016. So there is a certain degree of relevancy in that regard where I didn't realize fully that people like that guy in the video that the dude's watching
Mm-hmm.
who decides to lead the coup
We need to
existed.
do something about the,
Yeah.
these aliens, blah blah blah. Yeah.
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 Yeah, and I didn't fully realize that
Mm-hmm.
that was a thing that like because I felt like it was something that was radicalized via the 2016 election and radical conservatives growing more confident in their
Yeah.
voice,
That's it. Yeah.
and it's hard to wrap your mind around and like obviously this is different. This isn't a conservative or liberal thing. I'm not trying to make it so because like this would radicalize anybody. I think there is a good chance that if
Mm.
you are susceptible to any of this, like there's a really good chance that this doesn't work out the way that it does. Like
Mm-mm.
actually at all. There's actually no fucking chance it works out the way that it does.
I mean, it's nice that their ships are indestructible because the first thing we would do is try to shoot them down. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Yeah.
just that it's our first thing we do, and like that just doesn't work. And like it's crazy to think that like they're like, all right, we're gonna need humanity's help in 3,500 years, so we're coming here now to give you a gift. But you're welcome. You guys are
Mhm.
primate, just ants compared to what we are. You're welcome. We'll speed up your process. But you got to think like they're a peaceful species that
Mhm.
has been living, and I guess they just know their fate that they're about to be wiped out or
Well,
whatever. And
and that's what's interesting is they couldn't have been wiped out. Like
ah,
there's a
so it does
the
work.
the time loop thing is that like
It
it had
has
to have
to.
worked. Like
Yeah.
it had
Or
like they have to know it's going to work. There has to be a reason it works. There has to be a reason they came here unless they're taking a fucking shot in the dark.
maybe that's just that, we just experience time in that way, so we can't even think of how time works for them, like how they experience it. It is just the things that are paradoxical to us might just be
just
nature
yeah, they are just
for
that. Yeah.
them. And I love just the like it can't be my scene. You're right. Like the scene of the movie is everything clicking, and like whenever it does it, I think it starts they come out, they're arguing about something in the tent. Yeah, and then her memories start to it's all of her memories starting to come to
Hmm.
line up, and then it's the
Yeah.
the zero sum. That's right. I put it in my
That's my scene.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, there's no other scene in the movie that I think is worth like that is the best scene of the movie. There's no
mhm.
like debate. I feel
Yeah.
like.
Whenever she's in the flashback and her daughter's asking her, what is it when like there's like a win-win, like it's
Hmm. But
nobody
not a
wins, everyone has to meet in the
compromise.
middle, and
Yeah.
she's like a compromise. She's like, no, it's more scientific
Oh,
than that.
yeah.
And she goes, well, if you want science, ask your dad. Me and Emily went like this. We
Huh?
looked at each other. We were like,
Huh?
Yeah, we were
Uh-huh.
like, it's Ian, it's
What?
Ian, isn't it? This
Uh-huh.
hasn't happened yet. So
Yep.
like, that was just a really fun realization. And then like when he says non-zero sum game, I was like, yep, nail in the coffin. That's him.
Oh,
But yeah, like that whole sequence is just fucking brilliant.
because it's
And
from right there that she realizes that that's how her brain is working now. So like
Mhm.
she has something, and then that's immediately when the ship sends out that little cylinder to take her up. It's like they know, it's like they.
Mhm.
I guess. And also, it's like spicing up. Things are happening around the world. China's
Well, and
about
she
to.
saw it, which is why she went out there to do it. Like, and that's what's
Oh my god, it's so cool. Like
and that's
it's
why I'm like, there's a
what?
certain element to this where, yes, she is, yes, they experience time in a different way,
Uh huh.
but to put it in 3,500 year terms, that is linear. Like it is 3,500 years from now. Whether they are experiencing exactly that at the same time, it's possible.
True.
Like they almost certainly have to be, because Amy Adams is experiencing the loss of her daughter, who she hasn't had yet. But
Hmm.
and is there like a lifespan thing going on? These aliens aren't time travelers. They can just perceive time, as far as we can
True.
tell.
True. It doesn't seem that way. They could be. They
Yeah.
could be from the
They
future and
could be,
came back,
yes,
but
they
it does.
could be time traveler. I don't get the impression that they are from 3,500 years in the future
No.
and these motherfuckers came back.
That's just how they. That's how they work. They know.
Yeah,
They
and that's
just
why I'm
know.
like, their lifespan is probably just ridiculously
Mega.
long compared to ours. So that's why I was like, Amy Adams, her character Louise, experiencing things that happen within her life. She doesn't see things that happen after. So like I'm
Yeah. There maybe I guess whenever she's given the gift, she can see everything from her life from that point on. But these
Mhm.
creatures, they're probably born like that. So
Yes, yeah.
from inception or from whatever, from birth, however they're born, they know everything that they'll ever do. I mean, it's we can view that as like, well, damn, that sucks. That sounds boring. Or I don't know. I
No,
mean,
like
it's a
there's
different
a
life. It's
and
just
that's why I love there's obviously the conversation between her and Ian as well earlier on in the movie, where he asks her, have you been dreaming, in their
mm,
language, and she like looks over and sees one in her room, but I can't remember what it was called,
uh
whatever syndrome it
the
is, where it's
spirit.
like
I got it here. Sapir Whorf. Sapir is the first name, and then
Sapir Whorf, that was it.
Sapir Whorf
Sapir Whorf.
hypothesis.
Yeah,
Um,
like she's obviously experiencing that. Like she's just exposed herself to it so much. There's this interesting element too, where because she will gain that ability, she already kind of has that ability. And
oh,
it's interesting to think about it that way, because there's a nuance given to Amy Adams' performance, knowing this information, knowing that she hasn't lost a daughter. She carries herself at the beginning of the movie like a woman who has lost her daughter. Like she's on the phone with her mom, and her mom's like, how are you doing? She's like, I'm the same. Like she,
that's
she
true.
she gives she gives the impression of someone who doesn't feel like they have anything left to live for. And then this reignites her, this reinvigorates
Huh.
her. And then
Yeah, was her past said? Did she say that like has she just been
we
like
get
she's
we
never
get
had
dropped in. We get dropped in. The first time we see her is the day that they land, and then
because she's
they
having
never
memories
explain.
of her daughter, but that's not
And then
that's
whenever he's like, what's going on? She's like, I can't, you'd think I was crazy. I can't explain it. She's already
ah
seeing visions of her daughter who isn't born yet, like, who is this kid? Like,
ah
and she feels the love for that child. She feels the grief she has from losing that
mm-hmm.
child, and it's persisted, I'm assuming, her whole fucking life because there was never an event that made it make sense. And all of
Ah,
a sudden, everything clicks here for her. And she asked the question, which is my favorite line of the movie. She asks Ian at the end of the movie, if you could see your whole life start to finish, would you change things? And that's when they're embracing at the end of the movie. She knows for a fact what is going to happen.
mm.
I pose the question, could she even? Could she even change these things? Like if she
I
does she have the
wonder.
option to make a choice and
Yeah,
walk away from Ian and never have the daughter? Like I have to think she does. Like she has that opportunity, but because she's already had this child and already loved them and already lost them.
I feel like it's kind of like almost a faith thing in that like she's been given this gift and like she knows that she has this daughter and like she knows the grief sucks and it's made her life terrible the whole time, but it's like she knows that she did love that daughter and she'll never have that
Exactly.
love if she never
If she,
has the daughter
yes.
in the first place. So
Like
it's
and
like,
I think that and that's why it's that's why that the ending of the movie makes me fucking sob. Like
oh
it,
my
it
God.
fucked me
Yeah,
up, man.
it's
Um
terrible. I mean, it's just because from that moment on, or once you can think in time that way, circular, non-linearly,
mhm.
life is just different. Like work doesn't make sense and like all these things like they don't really make sense. Like normal day-to-day tasks don't make sense, but it's just how we live and
Well,
how
and
our
then it's
brains
like
work.
how can it if you do have the ability to change it, is she constantly trial and erroring things
Is it
to
like
try and
Timothy, like
change
she
things?
basically has
Yes.
the
Like, is
power
she able to like, and that's why I'm like, because
hmm,
say, like, it's devastating and fascinating and awesome that we know. We usually talk about these movies like what happens next.
mm,
We know for a fucking fact what happens next. We
that's
know what
true.
what happens after this movie, and I love that
Mm.
she knows this language. She's experiencing life in a whole new way. And Ian can't accept that she knew their daughter would die and put that grief onto him, knowing what would happen. And there's almost a
What do you do? You know,
no, yeah,
like,
like there's almost a peaceful acceptance of that on her
mm,
part.
mm-hmm.
Like she has no other option.
And
Whenever
she
she's like
knows that he will be upset about it too. Like she
yes,
knows that that will happen as well. I wonder if it is more of like that they do know, or it's like you
it
have
shows
to.
itself.
Yeah, eventually. It's not like clear. It's just like whenever she needed to know non-zero, is it
Some
yeah,
game.
non-zero sum game, that's whenever that future vision came to her. So then
That's
she
fair.
learned it. So maybe it's
Yeah, when she needed to know that she needed to call the general,
mm-hmm.
she saw the vision of her calling the general.
So it's like she initiates that thought of, hey, this is the point I need to make, and then it's like, all right, here's the knowledge you need to make that point, and it just happened to be in the future. But maybe it could have been in the past. I don't know. You know, maybe that's how it works. It's just like as you need the information, you can just access it from any direction in time,
Mm.
and then that way free will is still sort of
No, and
in
that's the
check.
thing is that like
Um,
I do get the impression that she does have free will.
mhm. She chooses not
She
to.
chooses not to do anything with it though.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like I don't know that she does. Like I think she might be doomed to not doomed, but like
Hmm.
there's like maybe you're right about the faith thing. That's the best idea I can come up with. That she was granted this gift. She's decided not to fuck with the gift. She knows
Mhm.
that it's just how life is now. This is what her life is, and that's how it goes. Um,
Because if you knew that aliens needed humanity to save them in 3,500 years, and you were the first one to get this gift, and then start to change things, like
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe that's why she's like, I don't want to fuck up humanity, You know, like I don't know the true
Yeah, like
power
maybe
of this.
exactly. Yeah.
And
She just knows it's her job to pass this language on so
it's
that eventually in 3,500 years,
yeah.
humans exist in the same capacity that these motherfuckers do.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's just passed on and just passed down for generations and generations and generations, they exist in the same, like humanity will eventually speak this language
Yeah.
and not,
Yeah. That's
and it will be the universal language
uh
as it is dubbed, you know?
maybe they are a little time travel. Maybe this is like a maybe maybe they're experiencing time in a loop, and maybe that's the whole point, is that time itself is not linear. Like this is the things that need, it's like a tenet just thing. What's, everything that's happened, it just, it's a loop. Maybe, I don't know. They never explain it, which is nice. It is just left in mystery, and we don't
Mhm.
know. Like, we operate under the assumption that we have free will because we really, really would like to have free will. It would really,
Right,
really
right.
suck if one day aliens come down and they're like, "Hey, actually, we created you, and you've
Your
been just
fate is
serving a
decided and
purpose."
we already
Yeah,
know how you
like,
end.
yeah. If we were told that, we'd be like, "Oh, well, that does
And then
suck."
that would be a part of our fate. And that
Yeah,
whatever you did after that would be a part of the design.
and so
And
it's
like
like,
that's why
yeah, I
I
don't
think that
know.
the free will question, I mean, like they do literally pose it. That's why I do think it's important. I'm not trying to
Hmm.
expound on something that doesn't matter to the movie. She literally says, if you knew your future,
Yeah.
would you have the power to change it? Like, would you do that? Um, and it it is just fascinating, man. I loved the ideas this movie posed, and I loved the
Yeah.
execution. One thing that I was a little shocked by in terms of just this whole it is my favorite Denis Villeneuve movie. It might be my least favorite looking Denis Villeneuve
Yeah,
movie.
Sicario looks better than
Um
this. Like,
yeah, consistently, like whenever they are in
mm,
the the ship or whatever the fuck, like that all looks really really good.
yeah, I guess
But
it is
the
just,
night sequences are really dimly lit and they don't
yeah,
look very good, and it's not like a choice where it's like, oh well, that's what we it's going for the naturalistic lighting thing that I'm just not a huge fan of.
mm-hmm,
And it's not that it doesn't work. It does work at points. Like there are, like whenever the helicopter pulls up and she's standing in her house on the upper floor and
mm,
it's coming through the window and you see the lights flashing on her.
mm-hmm,
That shot is really cool. It's very brief, it's very quick, but I love that shot. And there is there's an interesting desaturated look to it where even when they're wearing orange and they're coming out of yellow tents, it's still dull somehow. And I'm curious if they are trying to kind of say something about humanity
hmm.
in contrast to,
Yeah, look at the
and
land that they're on, how
hmm
lush and beautiful and green and
yeah.
mountainous, and the blue sky, and then just the base camp, tents,
hmm
boring as fuck. And maybe that, I mean, because when we're in the ship, it does look really cool. And the
Oh God,
camera
it
is
looks
always set
great.
up like very well to, give you the long shots. Like
Oh,
whenever
there
like the gravity
whenever
first switches, whenever the
mhm.
first contact, oh, that might be my shot. Is like the camera kind of switches with the gravity, and then you see like them, like the people switch. It was just,
My favorite
oh,
of that sequence was when Ian jumped on and he stands and he looks down
mm,
and there's a dolly zoom
mm,
that makes the hall longer as
uh-huh.
he's looking at it, and then it does it the opposite way, and I was like, oh, that was fucking heat.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
they
mean, it was gorgeous. And like,
so
so that's why I'm like,
hmm.
I'm but I mean, like Blade Runner 2049, undoubtedly beautiful movie. Sicario, undoubtedly beautiful movie. The Dunes, undoubtedly beautiful movies. There just
Mhm.
happen to be sequences in this that I think are less visually stimulating. Maybe I should put it that way. It's not that they're worse looking,
Mhm.
it's just that there's almost more to look at in other
Yeah.
movies.
And it's like Villanueva's standard. It's not up to like his standard, but I feel like for an average movie, it still
This
looks
is a
pretty good.
good, like, that's
Like,
why
yeah,
I'm like,
the
it's a good looking
mhm, it
movie.
still
It's just
does look
as of yet, it's compared to
yeah,
Villanueva's other work, it probably is my least favorite looking Villanueva movie. Um,
this is
but my
true.
favorite shot, it, and here's where that other shit comes in. This might have my favorite shot of any Villanueva movie, and that's why it's hard to really compare with anything. Where he's where she, Louise, is looking at the circle and it's like perfectly around her head. And then
Mhm.
she turns to the side and she's like perfectly silhouetted. It looks fucking gorgeous. Like
Mm.
that's a beautiful visual that,
Uh,
again, beautiful visual storytelling about how her head is it's one with this eventually. And like that's
dude.
what Villanueva is really
Yeah.
good at, is telling you things without telling you things.
Mhm.
And it's
Human,
really strong.
taking off the
Yeah.
hazmat suits and just having that, and like I saw it someone say that like Star Wars is better as a silent film, that if you just had the movie or the music with it, and you take all the dialogue and everything out, that it works as a silent film and it actually makes the movie
Sorry.
better. And I don't know about that. But I think the idea of it, like if you do make this movie silent, or Villanueva's movies silent, I feel like he's just a director in which you could do that for his movies
Mm.
and still get a lot of the satisfaction out of it without the dialogue. Because I mean, this is literally visual, in the alien language. Obviously, we wouldn't understand it, and there's no way to do that without subtitles and or some sorts of dialogue and stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm always kind of watching movies now with the idea of like, can it work as a silent film? Are they doing enough visual storytelling?
Mm.
And he definitely does. It's
He does.
a
And
strength he
there's a
has.
few really good examples of people who do their own version of that. Raimi does a really good job at that. George Miller, the Mad Max movies would
Mm.
fucking slap
Mm-hmm.
as silent films,
Yeah.
I don't entirely agree with the idea that Star Wars would work that way.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's a key
Not that it
factor
wouldn't.
that the music is
Yeah, yeah.
definitely that important, but I don't think it's
Mhm.
the only thing that gives Star Wars the magic,
No, like,
Like,
I mean, it depends a lot on exposition. It's like there is actually
mhm,
the most important exposition drop in the entire saga, like within the first 30 minutes of A New Hope, when Obi-Wan Kenobi explains to Luke Skywalker
mm.
who his father was and how what a lightsaber is, and all. So
That's
like
true.
I don't entirely agree with the idea that Star Wars could
Yeah.
work that way. Maybe Empire Strikes Back could.
Mhm. Certain scenes,
Let's
like,
just say George Lucas is not one
yeah.
of the directors who could accomplish that.
Mm-mm.
I don't
No. He
think.
also had John
Um,
Williams at the helm, and, like, if you have
Very
that as
helps.
your
Very much
sound
so
in the
helps.
background, then, like, yeah. Like,
And don't get me wrong, I think that Star Wars would be an incredible watch. No dialogue, just sound design
mhm.
and music. But it's because I've seen Star Wars that I feel that way.
Yeah,
Like I
is that
wouldn't
is that
just
a
want to.
thing? Like, are
Yeah,
movies
I can
edited in
actually
that way, or,
on the Blu-rays I have for Star Wars, I can watch it music only.
really?
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
like, but, like, are the sound effect, like, the ships,
I
like,
don't
in
know. I
the,
haven't tried it yet.
like,
I would be interested. I
lightsaber
hope they
sounds?
are
That would be
because.
really cool if you could just cut out dialogue only somehow.
Hmm. And it's
Um,
just sound design and music. Yeah, I'm
mhm.
like, I know that there's a music only version of all the movies that I have,
Whoa.
which I do intend on watching at some point. I just
Huh.
haven't gotten around to. But anywho, um, yes, I agree 100%. This is one of those movies that would perfectly work in in a silent format, like without like the music alone and some of the sound design would just
Mhm.
fucking slap. Because I loved the sound design in this movie. And obviously I'm
Mm.
actually going to point to a scene where there is dialogue, so take it as you will. But in the helicopter the first time when they're communicating over the headsets in the
Mhm.
helicopter, like there is no other way to hear it. And I love that you are actually hearing what they are hearing, and you can hear the
Yeah.
dull thumping of the wing of the propeller, and you can like all that stuff. Like it's really really satisfying, and I love the sound design in the
The
ship.
ship,
Like
the
that's
bird
gorgeous.
chirping. Oh man, it's kind of it's annoying, and I think that's the point. Like, they bring it in at first to be like, well, we got to test the air to see if it's toxic. The bird will die, so we'll know if the air is safe or not. But then it's like you really got to bring it in every time. It doesn't
Mhm.
really make sense. But for sound design, it just makes it so much more eerie, or so much more to have that just like chirp, just those chirps in the background, and then just the like thwump. I don't know, just the score was so. Oh, I don't know. It just works so well for the movie, and I thought just little I don't know, the sounds were perfect, and I think that is what it won an Oscar for,
Mm.
was sound design. It was nominated for a couple other things, but I think the
Yep,
win
one for
was in.
sound editing, was nominated for picture, nominated for direction, nominated for screenplay, nominated for cinematography, nominated for film editing, nominated for sound mixing, and nominated for production design.
Oh,
Which all
okay.
of those seem pretty fucking deserving.
And yes, Kansas City Film Critics Circle Award. We gave it the best adapted screenplay. It won. It was nominated for the best film. Didn't quite win. Um, and then a 2016 winner for outstanding science fiction, fantasy, or horror film, the Vincent Kohler Award. Let's go, Kansas City. I love every time I can mention that. It's been a
Right.
while. I don't know. I don't really check it though that often as I used to, but I don't know. I very as the more I talk about it, the more I can definitely give you more reasons why I like this movie more than Dune 2, I think.
Mm.
Dune 2, a lot of the root reasons is it's just so well made, and it looks so good, and it sounds so good, and just it's cool.
No, the
Um
filmmaking in Dune 2 is
it's ungodly. It's just, yeah,
utterly
it's just
astonishing.
oh my
Yeah.
god. And but this it feels that somehow Arrival, a movie in which they're going from a tent to a ship to a tent to a ship, has more substance, or more there's more emotion. I don't know. There's more humanness. There's more um,
Hmm.
real tear. I don't know. Just tears that are like within the movie itself, and then like me thinking of like if we were to do this in real life, and how like I don't know how crazy. And I wish that it was kind of like this. If aliens were to come down, it would kind of be like a selection process. They'd weed out all the
Mm.
government people first, because they're like, "Yep, you'll shoot at us and you'll send your people. You won't get anywhere. Just wait until the right people show up." And I don't know. I always.
Well, and it's also really cool that they are such a peaceful species that they are literally there to motivate humanity to work together. Even if China and Russia
Oh my
had
god! Yeah.
done stuff to try to kill them, there wouldn't be retaliation. I don't think they would have fought back. I don't think that's something that they had the capability to do. If they wanted to, it literally would have been just kamikazeing Earth, like go really
Mm-hmm.
high with our ships, plummet them into the ground. But like, I don't think that's what they're there to do. Like that's not what they
Ultron's
want.
plan times 12,
Yeah,
dude.
exactly.
Oh man.
Um,
Yeah, but and
so
even
like that's
even whenever they like what could we do, like they know the future. The time that we tried to kill them, they sent they flexed on us, whenever we sent like whenever our military tried to kill them, they're like, fuck it, we don't care about this scientist and linguist. If we can attempt to maybe kill or do something, like what do they think that one C4 explosive was gonna do, in that ship? Like if it did blow up, I don't know, maybe it would kill them, maybe the whole ship were to go down, maybe I don't know, I guess something would happen, but stupid plan.
yeah, idiot
But like
plan.
I love how they're just like waiting till the last second, and then they just push them out of the room. They know what's gonna happen. They're like, all right, well, funny, funny little toy you had there, little C4 explosive planted under the table,
They're
acting
like,
like.
all right, guys, come on
Yeah.
now.
And
Um,
I guess I'm operating under the assumption that like they know the future, and I know that they know, but these military
mhm.
men don't. So it is, I don't know. I think that is kind of like the point of her free will question, and like the end of the movie. It's like once you have this gift, or once you think of time in this way, life is just different, and
Yeah,
morals,
like, do you
and
have the motivation
yeah.
to try to change things, or is there a certain serenity in knowing that this is what will happen?
Mm-hmm.
And just
And
kind of accepting that.
do morals completely translate? Like our morals come from our brains, which are very time is linear, and we will die one day, and that is it. And so everything we do has to happen linearly. But if there was some revelation that came out that was like, no, time isn't linear, and we were told that way somehow, and we all maybe didn't get this ability. I don't know, because if we all had this ability, obviously things change and like everyone is
Yeah.
just very different. But if we were just told that time isn't linear and that it is circular, I don't know what the word would be, but like if it is repeating in some fashion, I feel like people would just our morals would change. Like even if we were just told that, not given the true ability of knowing our future. I think morals themselves are kind of, I don't know, they were made in a world that is linear, so it makes sense that they apply to linear things, but once you get into that other world, it's like everything just falls
What
apart.
even is your
Yeah, it's
existence at that
like
point? So like, and I appreciate what they try to approach. Like I'm just going off what I perceive Amy Adams' performance to be, because this is the most show don't tell thing in the movie, because they literally make it the twist. Like they can't tell you what's going on. They can't tell you how she's feeling in certain
mhm.
moments. The like the acceptance and serenity and the idea that she has her daughter. Yes, one day she will lose her, but every single day, every single minute in the meantime, she's going to cherish the time she has with her.
Mhm.
And I think that more than anything, removing yourself from the science fiction of it all and removing yourself from that, if you break it down to just a story about knowing death is inevitable, knowing that tragedy is something that will occur, you will incur loss in your life.
Mhm.
People will die. Is there any like just remove yourself from having this ability even? Is there anything you can do to prevent that? No. That is an inevitability. That is
Mhm.
something that will happen. And to grapple with that idea via a science fiction film and put it in these terms is really, really
Mm.
compelling. And I appreciate that originally the gentleman who wrote the story, I believe his name was Jeff Xiong, if I recall correctly, off the top of my head. But
Hmm.
the screenplay adaptation, Ted Xiong, my bad, um, by Eric Heiserer. I absolutely adored this screenplay as well.
Yeah, they
Just the way that Denis and this screenwriter worked in tandem to create this story was really, really strong. Um,
yeah, I got one I think my line, and I was between, I just put the Sapir Whorf hypothesis just so I'd remember that if it
mm,
came up in conversation. But the thing I put down is whenever she was talking to Forrest Whitaker and she was saying, let's say that I taught them in chess instead of English, every conversation would be a game, every idea expressed through opposition, victory, defeat. You see the problem? If all I ever gave you was a hammer, and then
everything
she
would
stops
become a
there, and it's
nail.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
so it's all whatever our reality is all that we know. And I have
Well,
a saying I say to myself is just, you don't know until you know, and
mhm.
it feels like that's just kind of what's happening here, but with her.
Well, and to go back to, them teaching her the way she's teaching them, is there something to the idea that they don't know everything and that they are experiencing things the same way Amy
Oh,
Adams is?
oh, oh.
So,
Okay, yeah. So they experience things non-linearly all the time. So they don't
mhm,
have the brain of a linear person. So yeah,
mhm.
maybe this is like an actual exchange. Like hmm,
Like,
yeah, hmm. Like I don't
obviously
know what
it's
they're gaining other than them saying that we need you in 3,500 years, but maybe that's just what they say to gain something else. Yeah, I don't know. Like, is that actually true? That they do need them in 3,500 years? Are we just them in 3,500 years? You know, like, is this what
That was the
humanity
other thought
becomes?
I
You know,
had during it. I'm like,
um,
I doubt it, but like, and that's why I'm like, there's such a mystery about it that I really really appreciate that's never really defined or nailed down, and I appreciate when sci-fi or mystical storytelling does that. Like, not
mm,
everything needs an explanation, because if they did take a whole fucking section of this movie to explain how they experience life, it would feel out of
yeah,
place.
no.
Um,
Lightning. We people didn't know how lightning worked. We thought Zeus was throwing bolts down from the sky, and the gods were
mhm.
angry and shit. That's way cooler than like some static electricity in clouds and like it just
Yeah.
like discharging. That's boring that we know that now. So it's almost like, I mean, ignorance is bliss to a certain point, but um yeah, it is nice to have those things left up in mystery, especially if it is an alien race
Hmm.
and they're
Well, because
experiencing,
like
yeah.
you gotta ask yourself, like, I mean, you don't have to ask yourself, but like when you are talking about this topic, there's a really good chance they don't even, like, the people who wrote this fucking movie don't even know how they experience time. Like, that's
Yeah.
that, like, and they don't define it because they don't need to. Like, it's not something
Mhm.
the movie requires. And I think that's just a really strong movie. If you can get to the point where you do not need to define things like that, it's going to be stronger. And to have the faith in yourself to put that movie on
Mm.
is all the more impactful. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
I
this
like I really really enjoyed it. I thought that Amy Adams is utterly incredible. I went with her on both fronts. I went with her performance and character.
yeah. Yeah.
Didn't seem fair to give it to anyone else.
I
I
mean, I
didn't
was
I
maybe thinking of putting Jeremy Renner just because of what if it's my favorite Jeremy Renner performance that I can point to. But he did not do better than Amy Adams in this movie. So there's no way I can actually give him the nod. I guess we haven't even spoken really about him really at all. Um he's just
He does
he
pretty good.
does, yeah, he does his part. It's
Hmm.
it's just not the crucial role of the movie. It's like it's
No. And he does have a few really, really strong moments
mm,
that, as far as, like, what we know him as is
mhm.
Clint Barton. And he's good as Clint Barton. He was never bad as Clint Barton. He was
Mhm.
just, he was never given any material to really fucking play with. It was pretty steady. It was just kind of flat. Then I've seen him in Mission Impossible, and I've seen him in a
Mm.
couple other things.
Oh,
So
that's
like,
right.
um, but he's been Action Man to me, like, and he doesn't get a chance to. I'm trying to remember the moment in this movie where he has a facial acting moment where I was kind of like, oh, okay.
Hmm.
Like, oh,
Uh,
damn, Jeremy, okay.
was it them
Um,
sitting outside on the truck? There were.
no, it's a straight on shot. Like, it is
Oh, okay.
looking like he's basically looking at the camera. I feel like it's the first time after they've made contact for the first time and he's about to go throw up. And I think he's looking at Amy Adams and
Uh.
he's like waiting to make sure she's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a really interesting moment there where, like, he feels the need to make sure she's okay before he can go vomit,
Mm-hmm.
which is also really cute.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh.
but
Yeah. Uh,
there's
he's just, I don't know, a pretty cute, like their relationship, how it's like
oh yeah.
opening up like over time, and then you learn that it's destined to happen. Like it's kind of destined to happen. So like then that kind of changes the whole dynamic. But before you know that, and like just hearing, like he's not hitting on her, but like it really sounds like it. Like he was like, "Hey, I was thinking about you earlier," and he just stops for a second. He like takes a pause and he's like, "Yeah, earlier, whenever you were talking about the link, blah blah blah,"
Hmm.
and it's like at first, it's like, "Oh, you were thinking about me," or whatever. And I think even Amy Adams was kind of like, "Oh, like she was like she took it as that, and then he just went on his normal science rant or whatever, and
Oh
um.
yeah. And another thing that's really elegant about this movie is that the movie, it wins you over on that side of things. Emily asked me about halfway through the movie if I wanted them together.
Mm,
Like we kind of saw like
Yeah.
kind of a writing on the wall. Like it feels like they're kind of building towards that. Can't
Mm-hmm.
really tell yet, and it becomes more clear in the second half of the movie, obviously. But at that point, I was like, I don't particularly want them together. I don't particularly not want them together. I guess we'll see. And then like within the
Mm-hmm.
next 30 minutes, I was like, that they are meant to be. I love them, like, and that's what's really cool
Mm.
is that like I just love that this movie had that in it. And it's I've always said that I'm of the mind that any movie can be improved from romance. And
Mm-hmm.
it was just the cherry on top. And I also appreciate that it gives you the full scope of that romance. It lets you know that it shows you how they fall in love and it tells you why it won't work. And
Yeah.
I think that that's
We got the full story
mhm.
of their romance. That's yeah. Man, what a weird way to live, or a weird just that would change it would change everything. Um, and could you change everything? Could you?
Mhm.
It does seem like it.
Well,
Um,
and that's what's interesting too is Amy Adams's character willingly accepting that this is her fate to give future generations the chance to change theirs?
uh,
Is she a hero in that regard? Is she
uh-huh.
trying to
I'll
do something?
she's the giver of the language
I
to everyone
know
else.
what
So,
my destiny is.
mhm.
Maybe I'm giving them the power to change theirs.
Yeah,
Um,
because I mean, even the aliens, they call it a weapon. They're like, We're offering you a weapon." And then
mhm,
that's whenever the military's like, "Oh, what's going on here? It's spicing up now, blah blah." But it's like it really is like it is just language. But ooh, there was a line. I think it's a famous line. It was from some philosopher, I think, actually, that it's like that weapons are the first thing drawn on the battlefield, or something like that. Like words are the
mhm.
first thing drawn on the battlefield,
Yeah.
and this language, I mean, like, it's crazy that it's honestly like a double-edged sword. You kind of want a universal language, but then on the other hand, it's like then all of these cool words that come from different parts of the world that don't exist in other languages are lost, and like all
Mhm.
that culture that's there, it's like having one universal language feels weird, but it would be really, really nice if we could just communicate with everyone on Earth and
Yeah.
not have to worry about a language barrier. It's kind of
Well, and that's
crazy.
what's interesting is that like all the language does, understanding the language, once you officially understand it, it
Mm,
gives you a different perspective.
yeah.
Once you have that perspective, do you need the language anymore?
Oh.
Can you like, you know, I'm
Hmm.
sure plenty of people are bilingual, like they're learning this language. Once they figure it out, it's like, dope. If I ever need this, I can use it.
All
But if
right.
not,
Yeah.
and it's cool to frame it as, we were talking about if Amy Adams is kind of just in the river,
Mm-hmm.
just going with the flow, like she can't do anything about it. That's that. I think there's a really cool idea that they call it a weapon because it is all powerful,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
If you use it for the
which
wrong
does
reasons, I guess. Yeah, or
well. And
or
I
you
mean, like,
you would have to use it for the wrong reasons, I guess. Or is that even available as
I
an
don't think they,
option?
I don't think they mean it as I like. She brings up at one point in the movie where she's like, there's a chance that our word weapon
Mm.
isn't what they mean. Like they
Mm-hmm.
could mean tool, and I think that's more what they mean. Um,
Yeah, she did go back in there to talk to them after, and she was like, offer
weapon,
weapon? Like, what does that mean?
yeah.
And they're like, and it meant more of like their language, and like that's
Hmm.
what what they were offering. And I guess because whenever she steals that dude's phone, calls the
General,
is it, oh yeah, just general in China, and says the words of his what, dead wife already. I mean, that's just pretty
yeah.
cool. That's badass. But like whenever she hangs up the phone, it's kind of like it's the opposite of a nuke going off. It's like it was the exact polar. If this one thing didn't happen, then who knows what would have happened afterwards?
Hmm.
Like World War III and who even I don't know. But it's like an anti weapon. At least maybe that's why they chose her. Or man, it seems you're right. It does seem from the first moment we see her, she's already dealing with the grief, and she could have just been
Hmm.
a more sad person, on average. I don't know, but like
Yeah, no, I mean, like, it doesn't require you to
yeah.
experience a loss like
Um,
losing a child to experience depression. I don't want to frame it like that,
but we're in a
th-
movie, and like
but the fact
characterization
that
wise,
they are doing this at all, the aliens, indicates that you do have the ability to change fate. Like you do have the ability to do something like that because they wouldn't need to do this.
yeah. Why are they even coming to Earth in the first place? Yeah, they.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and
Okay.
unless it's like because they have to and
Uh
they're in, it's fate, like,
maybe
and so like
maybe
that's why.
that's yeah, maybe that's what it comes to, is that
Hmm.
she realizes that there isn't free will. I don't know. Maybe that is what the end of the movie's trying to say, and that it isn't that she's just going with the flow and accepting it and whatever it is that
It's too
actually
serene for
no.
that. It's too serene for that.
Yeah,
I think it's too positive for her for the more like
and it's
I think
only
she would have a
positive
more.
because we want free will though. Like
Mm-mm.
like not having free will might not be a bad thing, It's just it sounds bad to us right now,
Right, yeah.
but
No, there's a really interesting idea that Quentin Tarantino has.
probably
Actually, I read it in a book. I read it in his cinema speculation book where he says that like us getting our free will taken away is actually not the worst thing possible. What would be
uh
the worst thing is us losing our ability to create or to I can't remember the other, but like just like okay, I don't get to create the thing. I get to create though. And I don't agree
yeah.
with it, but it is an interesting idea.
Huh.
And there is like I think the end of this movie, like I don't think it's just a well, because I'm a human and because I want free will, I perceive the end of this movie as happy.
Mhm.
I think the movie is a happy
That's
ending. I
true.
don't think I don't
Yeah.
think it's like and I think that so I do think it's
Hmm.
possible that there is the ability to wield it, but it requires the collective. No singular person
Mm.
has the ability to make massive change in their own life.
I see.
It is
Yeah.
it is a weapon, a tool that is used
It's
to
speaking
benefit everybody.
instantly. Like it's like our sentences, like they're very linear as well, and it does take me time for me to make my point. But for
Hmm.
these creatures, they're
Yeah.
making hundreds of points instantly, and it's all
Hmm.
taken in seemingly instantaneously as well. Like it's just
Yeah.
an instant transfer of information and an instant transfer of an idea. And we're seeing it at the slowest like scales. But like maybe that's just like that's all they see, and like they're just like they could put out one puff and have like hundreds of years worth of earth conversations. And
Hmm.
like so their whole being is different, and like their whole it is crazy that a movie, like it is a movie, but like
Well, and then it
I-
comes to the point where
oh
like how do you even pass this on? Like now you're writing this out,
yeah, how do
which is
humans
not
do
the
it?
same. Yeah, like
How do
it's
humans? Well, that was a cool piece of trivia, is that they actually made a full, now maybe not a full functioning language, but they, whenever she was tapping on that iPad and kind of like
Mhm.
here's this word, that word to make the thing, they made that like
Yeah, yeah, like they
um
were like, well, this is what this will mean. Yeah, like
hmm
it's
so I mean maybe that's how we would do it, is like just using a screen. I don't know. It would have, yeah, it's
we don't emit
we
gas
just
like that,
can't do that. And it's like connected to
exactly.
their brain too. The creatures, like it's just
they are humans. They were giving them the chance to evolve to this point. We require knowing this language and learning how to speak it in order to evolve into
Oh,
what they are.
yeah. Yeah. Like maybe our brains can only get so big thinking linearly, and then this gift alone is what, boom, can it just that just the huh, that is pretty cool. I mean, a lot of people wonder of like how humans got so smart out of nowhere, like
Mm-hmm.
what's the change? What was given to us? And maybe, like dogs, I guess, don't think linear, or they do think linearly, but they don't really have the full concept of time. They just kind
Yeah,
of
every day is a new
experience.
fucking day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like maybe, now I'm going off the left field, but maybe whenever aliens came back at one point and they gave us, you know, linear thought for the first time, and then we evolved to where we are now, and then it takes a point to like this to give you the next layer of brain thought. You're not quite
Yeah.
ready for it yet, but now, okay, now you're ready. We'll give you a non-linear thought and see what you can do with that now,
Mm.
sort of thing. And um oh, so
Yeah,
so
no, like
she is kind of functioning as that. She is like giving the gift to the rest of the world and kind of
mm.
being them. So she
That's why
is
I'm like,
part of
there
the
is a
collective.
yeah,
Huh.
that's why
Huh.
I'm like, I think that there is a chance that it's not so much like we also think extremely individually. Like
Mhm.
there's like they put an emphasis. We are one of 12, like that we are
Yeah.
not we don't speak just for ourselves. We are trying to
Uh
help everybody. And like we need you to help everybody. So there is a chance that when this evolves, it's not a hive mind, but the world is much more about
yeah.
collectivism as a whole versus the individualist society that we've kind of cultivated in
Wow.
Europe and America. Um,
Yeah. Wow, wow. I mean, language is just a weird thing. Even taking the alien thing out of it, if you were just to
no,
tell
like
someone there's a group of people on this part of the on land that speak one way, and then this group of people speak another way, if you were to merge them together, they would have zero clue on how to communicate. That's just kind of a weird thought on Earth, and we have more than two languages. We have, I don't even know how many active languages there are in the world. It's probably in the thousands. I don't know. Or is
yeah,
that
tons more.
overshooting it?
No, that's
Um,
not overshooting it, I don't think.
yes.
Um,
What like a cool movie to rope in aliens, language, death, freaking
yeah.
free will, like dealing with guilt and loss. Like it's
There's over 7,000 active
okay.
languages.
So yeah, I was not undershooting or underselling it. That's good. But yeah, I mean, what a I don't want this to happen, but I do. Like it is like kind of it could either go really good or it could go really bad. I
Well,
want
no, and there could be something here where technologically we're not far off from reaching this, like Google Translate is obviously extremely
that's
I had a conversation with somebody the other day at work where they came in looking for work. They didn't speak English and we,
wow.
communicated the whole
Yeah.
time doing this.
The new Chat
And
GPT 4.0 or whatever does that like live. You can
mm,
just like have it be a third party and just you can have a full conversation now, which is it is really like we are you like right now we do have to have kind of like a mediator
mhm.
to translate, but what when that's removed and it is just human to human, how I don't know how that's done, but that'd be a cool place to reach and
No, yeah,
us
and
to
that's
maybe
why
live
it's
through
like
it.
there could be a certain evolutionary like we won't experience an evolutionary difference obviously, but like getting to this
Mhm.
point evolutionarily where there is a universal language because we've evolved to the point where we can communicate through technology primarily, and then the tech like me and you have gone on this for a while now with
Yeah.
like Tron Legacy. I think a few weeks back we talked
This is
about,
yeah, it
yeah,
is.
but
I like talking about these things. I go down the rabbit
yeah,
holes quite
no,
often,
I
but
I fucking loved this movie, man. I did. I thought it was I thought it was fucking awesome. I thought it was such a
Mm-hmm.
good addition to this already pretty fun, eclectic mix of movies. Um,
I put it up. I'm starting, and this isn't my full favorites movie list on Letterbox, but I did slot it in on my favorites movies, and it had already broke top 20. I think there's definitely still some I need to slot in here that are just not on here that I know were my favorites. That would be above it. So, but this is like just a start of the list. It has 160 on it, I believe. So, out
mm.
of 160, it's top 20, and right at 20. So. That's kind of where I had it. I do have it above like Get Out and Guardians of the Galaxy and above Tenet. I do think that like it's kind of more packed together nicely than Tenet. It's very comparable. I feel like in
There's
like
there's a
time and
certain
weird crap
like
going on, but I feel like it's
Tenet's
packed
more
better.
fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, like Tenet's a more fun movie, but I think that this is I don't need the mechanics of Tenet to be explained at all. I get what's going on.
Mm,
This is somehow one of the most concisely and easily
mm,
understandable time stories I've ever watched when it's the least explained, which I think is
yeah.
interesting.
Kind of like The
Um,
Cure almost of like
mm,
having something so mysterious and but so central to the movie.
mhm, mhm.
And yeah, I don't know, it's just written very well. And yeah, I mean an all-timer for me. I mean as far as my sci-fi movies go, it's up there. I
I
mean
mean,
it's
it genuinely might be my favorite sci-fi movie I've ever watched.
mhm.
You know, and
Yeah.
that's if I'm not counting Star Wars as sci-fi. I count it more like science
Matrix?
fantasy, but um makes me more emotional than The Matrix,
Mhm. I'd agree with that. I'd say
you know.
kind of on the
We're
Matrix more
looking again
fun
at the
and
we're looking at that
but
again. It's more fun. It's more exciting than Arrival, but there's a
mhm.
certain and it will be interesting. I don't think this has and I don't think this is important. I don't think this has rewatchability. I will rewatch it.
Yeah.
That's not to say that it's like well, one and done. I'm never gonna watch this again. No, I probably will watch it again.
Whoa.
Um,
It it's it's meta. It works to prove the point of the movie. The first watch before you're given the gift, it's awesome and you're in the now. But then once you know and you do have that
yeah, you
know, it
get it
is
all.
because
Yeah.
on my second watch, I was kind of like, man, I already know what's gonna happen. I like, is the movie that much worse? I mean, I still cried, so like, yeah, I guess I did
No, and
still enjoy
that's the
it.
thing is that there's
Um,
still a human
but
heart to it, and that's why like it does have a degree of rewatchability. That's why it's
hmm
revisitable at all. It's just one of those ones where like The Matrix has a different kind of rewatchability, you know,
yeah,
like and that's just a not a problem with twist movies. It's just a
hmm
reality of twist movies. Like it's like you will not get as enjoyable a watch out of it as you did the first time you watched it.
nope,
That's just how
yeah,
twist movies work. Um, whereas like with you know, Tenet's a little bit of a twist movie, but
mm.
it's just also
Like
fun as
Shawshank
fuck.
Redemption, it's really awesome that first time. Whenever you don't know
Mhm.
that tunnel's there, he's digging out and his whole escape
After
plan.
that, it's just a really
It's
good
like,
emotional
yeah,
human story, which is what you're looking at here, you know. And I don't think Shawshank Redemption has a crazy amount of rewatch value either. So like,
nope.
good choice there. But
It's right
yeah,
up on my list. It's right there on my favorites. It's nice to have this right
yeah,
here
it
and now.
is.
Letterbox is definitely gonna be on my. I don't know. I'm using it a whole lot more, obviously, now that
Fuck yeah.
that I got all these features. So, but yeah,
Fuck yeah.
um,
No, yeah. I mean, I dug it. I dug it a great deal, and it will be a nice revisit eventually.
mhm.
Usually movies like this are too complicated to want to show other people. Um, but I will confidently recommend this to
Oh yeah,
anybody.
my whole family.
Um,
I told my brother. Even my brother. If I can recommend a movie to my brother, it's pretty well
universally
universally
appealing.
yeah accepted, and I
Yeah.
feel this is one I can recommend to
Yeah,
anybody.
I'll probably recommend it to my little brother as well. But Yeah, no, it's a good fucking movie, man. It's a really good movie, and I've been told that for a really long time. It's been at the top
Yeah.
of my list for a really long time. Like, gotta get around to Arrival. Gotta
Yep.
get around to Arrival. And I'm glad that I finally did. So thank you to you for
Yeah.
forcing me into that
Well,
by making it a cinema surprise.
it's the exact reason I put it up here.
Yeah.
Is when I finally got to it, I'm like, oh man, wow! I realize why all these people have been saying these
Hmm.
things. So yeah, we we got there. We have arrived. And I don't know. I guess it was going to be called A Story of Your Life or something like that. Is was the original name?
That's
That's
what
like the
that's
screenplay
the name of
or
the story
the story.
that it's
Yeah,
based
the
off of.
novel.
Yeah.
But yeah, Arrival, a lot more punctual, a lot cleaner. I think.
Mm.
It works, but
Well, and there's a few like there's just a few of those, like whenever like the moment of her fate arrives at the end of the movie and they hug and they embrace and then it flashes to Arrival, like it's
mm,
like we're here, like we've made it, and it's just like it just makes sense. So like I loved it a great deal. But I think we've kind of
hmm
talked about all we need to. So I'm gonna do the plugs, but after the plugs I will announce what is coming next week on Cinema Surprise, and we will also do our album of the week. So let's do this shit. Um, if you would, head to patreon.com/pennybloom pod, where you'll find over 100 hours of exclusive content, all sorts of book reviews, comic book reviews, movie reviews, and early access content. You will also get access to the Penny Bloom Dispatch. It's a nice little preview of what's to come on the regular show, uh, on Penny Bloom Podcast. If you go over there, you can listen there. Um, but you have access to that on Patreon for free right now. It'll be like something like the first 12 or 13, 15 editions of the Penny Bloom Dispatch will be available exclusively on Patreon. Um, and at this point, I couldn't really tell you how many will be over there. Probably about 10, maybe, give or take. Um, but yeah, so that's free on Patreon. You just have to go over there. You don't even have to pay the $1.50 a month to gain access to any other sorts of content. Um, Free the Penny Bloom Dispatch. That's more timely news, archaeology from Joe's side of things,
hmm
entertainment stuff from my side of things. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, head to Twitter, follow at Penny Bloom Pod. That's where you can find everything for all shit going on. Fire and Bloom, or um, coming soon, the Sentimentalists, and the season 2 of Cinema Surprise. Inevitably, you will be able to get updates on that on the Penny Bloom Pod Twitter. Head to Instagram and TikTok, follow at Penny Bloom Podcast. Remember to leave a 5-star rate and review wherever you might be listening, and download these episodes, especially if you're listening on Cinema Surprise. Give us a little boost. Give us a little boost. I would really, really appreciate it. I don't anticipate it starting off super hot. It's starting from the ground up, and I would love to see some numbers there. But yeah, let's go ahead and rate this thing. I'm confident in a 10, enjoyment wise.
Okay, let's go. I was wondering. I don't know if we were gonna be there. And like Cure, I was like, we,
Mhm.
fresh off a 10. Babylon was a 9.5, and I'm like, man, am I? I feel like I just do really, really love this movie, and I didn't wanna
No,
like,
I knew it as soon as I watched it
okay,
last night. As soon as
sick.
I finished it, I was like, "Yep, I
Okay,
know exactly how I feel about it." Like,
then,
I not exaggerating when I say it's one of my favorite sci-fi, one of, if not my favorite science fiction movie of all time. Like, that's how
mm-hmm.
impactful it was on that first viewing.
Okay,
Um,
awesome. Because I was like, I didn't think. Well, I couldn't Sumai. Sumai'd for Tron,
hmm,
so that was already there. But I was like, so I was comfortable. I was like already accepting like a 9 something. And but I'm glad. I'm glad that we can. There's no debate needed there.
no, yeah, it's a 10.
And then
It's a 10.
okay,
Um,
then I guess critically, um,
it's strong. It's a good movie.
mhm, knowing his visual prowess usually and what he can do, especially with scale. Like I expected some scale shots of the ship to just I don't know make it they did well and stuff, but I don't know. Just what I know of what he can do. It would have been nice to see some more visual stuff, but the writing, what's really important, what I what I really like, and the story,
Yeah, the storytelling was
it
really,
was
really incredible.
mm,
So like, and the performances are really strong. Amy Adams and Forrest Whitaker are the easy highlights for me. I like Jeremy Renner. He's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. Um, but yeah, no, when I come to the critical side of things, I think that high eights,
yeah,
low
9 was
nines.
seeming maybe too high even.
Mm,
Like maybe 9 would be the ceiling. I could maybe give a 9
hmm.
flat, but like 8.75 or 8.5. I guess Babylon was 8.5. Um, let's see.
I feel like we're dealing with opposite things there, where I feel like that movie's like all vibes, all flash, all that, and the story. I mean, like I like the story. I think it's really, really strong, but I would give this the edge there. So I think I would put them on roughly the same level. I think I'd probably give this the edge though. I think I would say this is a little better than Babylon.
Maybe a little
Um,
8.75.
I'm comfortable with
Let's
that.
see. If we were to do that, it would be a 91.6 or 91.7, so a 92 percent. And so I mean that's pretty dang good. I mean The Cure still at a 97. Casablanca at the top, 98, and then The Cure, and then this would be in third place now.
I
Um,
think that's apt. That's how I would do it off the top of my
yeah,
head.
yeah. I
Um,
think I think I would agree. I think I do I The Cure in this are, I think the Cure is, or just Cure is the closest example of how I don't know. I like it. The writing was so good and so mysterious and just so
mhm.
captivating. Um, but more rewatchability with Cure. Arrival. It's just I'm glad I seen it, and
Oh, dude, I'm so glad I've
I
watched it,
know it.
man.
Yeah.
I will inevitably rewatch it. And it's one of those ones like where I don't like here I wanted to spam. I like I
Yeah.
watched it. I watched it three fucking times in
You got
36 hours
hypnotized
or
for
something.
real by
Yeah.
the movie
This is
did
one
its
of those
magic.
ones where like I will inevitably rewatch it, but I almost don't want to rewatch it too soon
Mhm.
so that I
You
can
can
get the
experience it.
full experience that I
Yeah.
want out of it. So like a different type of movie, but similar vein. I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
All right, 91% for Arrival.
Yeah. Are we
And
Is it
yeah, what do
music
we want to
first
do? Do we
or the
want to do album of the
surprise?
week? Is your album of the week sort of a tie-in? Do you feel like it could
No. Probably not really. Not really. What?
All right.
No
Then let's do the
connection.
surprise. Let's do the surprise. So next week, I'm returning to a 2020s film. That's kind of the back and forth I want to do. I did a
Okay.
40s movie, I did a 20s movie, I did a 90s movie. I'm gonna do a 20s movie again, and then I'm gonna do an older one, and then I'm gonna cap it off with the 20s. That's kind of the balance I want to go with. I want to show Joe as many 20s movies as I can, and myself as many 20s as I can. In this case, as I'm picking another one I have not seen.
Mm.
2 weeks in a row. I went with
Okay.
Kier went with Kier 2 weeks ago. Well, no, last week, as it will be 2 weeks removed from the episode
Mm.
that we will. Sorry. Last week I went with Cure, one I hadn't seen. It gave me a lot more faith to go with movies I haven't seen. Um, kind of spread our wings and hope for the best. I
Mm-hmm.
like that. So next week we are going to be covering 2023's La Chimera, starring Josh O'Connor. Um,
Yeah. Okay. Here it
It
is.
is
Let's see.
an Italian film about archaeologists and the black market and how they are trying to, dig into a little something. I have a lot of faith that this movie could be
Oh.
really, really strong. Um,
Okay. Um.
and I have not seen it. I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Hmm.
Only recently got a theatrical release in America only a couple months back. It is available digitally, so it will not be difficult to find. You will be able to watch it. Um,
Perfect. Josh O'Connor in archaeology is all I
mhm.
need.
That's
All
all
I
I
need to
need
get
right
me in
now.
right now. So
Um,
yeah, I'm
yeah, I
in.
mean, and I believe Isabella Rossellini is also in it. Who
Mm-hmm.
is
Flora. Mm-hmm. Who is? How? Where do I know her from?
I mean, she's kind of a
Let's
legend,
see.
but you might know her most recently from being the daughter of Ingrid Bergman, who was the lead in Casablanca.
Mm.
Um,
Oh.
yeah,
Whoa.
yeah.
Okay. Well then. Oh.
She was also the third wife of Martin Scorsese. So, and longtime girlfriend of David Lynch. So Isabella Rossellini has been around the block. Um, and she's
Okay.
also like I know I'm putting her relations as an important thing here, but she's been in a lot of great movies. Blue Velvet by David Lynch is one of my favorites of all time. She was just in
Hmm.
Problemista. Um, she's been in a lot of good stuff.
Hmm.
So I'm
Awesome.
very excited for La Chimera. I've heard a
La
lot of great
Chimera.
things. And that is what we've got coming next week. 2023's La Chimera, directed by Alice Rohrwacher. Um,
Wow.
super
Yeah.
excited for that. So yeah,
There we
next
go.
week, La Chimera on Cinema Surprise. Fucking be there. Um, I would appreciate greatly if you're listening on Penny Bloom Podcast, as these episodes are available there. Uh, next week, go ahead and tune into Cinema Surprise. Check it out. Check it out over there. Same shit, same episode, but different theme song, trying to build something over there, but we wanted to give it a soft launch where, it's available over there, but it's also available here. It's just, a little comfortability. But when season two inevitably rolls around, it will be exclusive to the Cinema Surprise page. So you might as well already get it going over there. Might as well subscribe to that. Might as well download those episodes because that's where future shit's gonna be. So, um, yep, La Chimera next week, and at the end of that one, Joe will announce his penultimate choice.
Mm-hmm.
Super exciting, super exciting. But let's do an album of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with yours. How you feeling?
Okay. Well, I'm going more modern here. I've already got a Cuddy album, so I'm just kind of going down the line of my favorite artists. And this week I'm gonna go with 2013's Childish Gambino, Because the Internet. It is
Hmm.
it is my favorite Gambino album. I don't really have maybe one that I just listen to more than all of them. I just listen to all of his music, really. I have just
Right.
a playlist called Gambino, and it's just all of his albums kind of thrown in there. But this is the one that I have the most kind of hits out of, the um, most liked songs in one album. It definitely comes from here. I feel like everyone knows like 3005 and
Hmm.
Sweatpants. But I really like Oakland, or it's Telegraph Avenue.
Hmm.
Is one of my favorites. Um, and Pink Toes.
Pink
I
Toes is
really,
good.
really love me
Yeah.
some Pink Toes. That sounds really weird out
Oh,
of
do ya?
context.
Oh,
But
do ya?
track 17, one or Pink Toes featuring, how do you?
Janae Aiko.
Thank you. Oh my God, the song goes hard. And Zealots of
Light of the
Stockholm.
Navigator.
Hmm.
Light of the Navigator is my shit, buddy. I love
Okay.
that one.
Yeah. Okay. I don't. It is hearted. But I guess off the name, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some of them. I don't know. I don't know that one off name, which is surprising. But yeah, it's an album that I've been listening to for quite some time. It's not anything new. And this kind of the point of this is to expand my horizons, and listen to new music. But
But sometimes you just gotta fall back on the
yeah,
classics.
yeah, this one had to get it out there because Cuddy's album was one that I've listened to for quite some time, and Tron as well. So I know that one's been in there. So I'll uh my next one I'll make sure I'll expand the horizons for myself. But I
Yeah,
guess if you
I
haven't
didn't
listened to
expand the
Gambino,
horizons this time. I went with one of my favorites of all time as well.
okay.
My album of the week is Heart of Stone by Cher.
Hmm.
Love me some Cher, big Cher guy. Huge fan of Cher. Uh, If I Could Turn Back Time is an absolute classic.
Ooh,
It's
that's
one
on this
that
album.
everybody, it's the first song, gets you fucking going. And then she's like, you know what?
Oh,
Just like Jesse James, track two, crazy track two. That's like if I ever like I feel like if I rise in like a crime family, right?
okay.
And my hubris gets the best of me and I'm on the run and it's going
Uh,
down. Firefights happening. I'm going down in a blaze of glory. I want the song just like Jesse James playing.
Okay.
That's how that song makes me feel. And then to follow it up with You Wouldn't Know Love. Like the first three tracks are fucking crazy. You Wouldn't Know Love makes me feel like I could step into oncoming traffic and like shoulder check a car and it would stop, you know? Like that's
What
how
is in this album? What did she put in
crack,
there? Yeah,
crack
okay, that's
cocaine.
it's what it sounded
Um
like.
no, I mean it's an all-timer. It's and it's one of those ones that like it you'll listen to those songs like specifically You Wouldn't Know Love and you'll be like, "Oh, that's how that makes you feel, huh?" But it does, you know,
Hmm.
like it's there's a few songs that make me feel like, you know, the culmination of a movie. I'm running through the airport to find the girl getting on the you can't go,
No,
you know? Yeah.
no, got
Yeah, that's
uh-huh,
yeah,
okay.
that's the move the album's got all sorts of vibes. But the first
Hmm.
three tracks are just like three of my favorite songs ever, and they come one after the other, so it just gets me fucking going.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I know.
I
I
love that.
know if
I
I could
love
turn
that
back
album.
time, I do know that one, but
Mhm.
I'll have to check out those other two for sure, if not the whole album. So I do
Yeah, it's a
share,
strong one.
yeah,
It's a strong. I
do,
love me some Cher. I'm a
yeah.
big Cher guy.
Mm.
Um,
How could you not be?
mm,
I don't know.
yeah, she rocks. She
Hmm.
rocks. But all right, cool. Because the Internet and Heart of Stone. Love those for the album of the week. Remember, come back to Cinema Surprise next week, where you will find us covering La Chimera. And on that
Hmm.
episode, Joe will announce what the fifth movie of his will be. And
Hmm.
I'm so very excited for that. Uh, but with that, I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And if you could see your whole life from start to finish, would you change things?